Hi, I'm Patrick Scott Armstrong, and this is a YouTube exclusive of our interview with Justin Talent of Friends in Austin. Please enjoy. Bam!
Bam, yo, can you hear me okay? I've got my mic set up here on my computer using my Yeti. Does it sound all right?
Yeah, dude, sounds great. Love
Nice. I was gonna try to get fancy and connect my computer to my Rode setup and then get one of my 4K cameras in there, but I was jacking around with it and I was like, this isn't gonna happen. I'm not gonna
Been there. I've done last minute setups and it never works out. It always, there's a cable you didn't plug in somewhere and you're like, fuck, it goes wrong.
Yeah. And I was like, do I even have the right stuff? I should be able to do that. But the thing is, I don't go on other people's podcasts really. So I was like, and I just did an episode. I've been so busy lately. There's a bunch of stuff.
This looks good, dude. We could see your setup actually this way. Like we could see what you work with as opposed to, does that make sense? Like,
yeah. As opposed to like, as if I was a guest on the show, it's almost kind of a little more makes sense for this format, you know?
Totally. No, I like that, dude. It looks good. Like I said, dude, you have one of the best setups. I mean, I've been there in person. Like it is legit setup.
Yeah, dude. And I was
remember when I said that? Remember the first time I came? Remember I was like blown away, dude. I don't know if you remember that. I was just like, oh my good God.
This for sure, man. And that was flattering coming from you, man, because you were you're the first podcaster and pretty much really the only podcaster that I've talked to. And so it was super exciting for me to have you come in, and I'd seen your show, I checked out your stuff, and you guys, it's a real business, what you got going on there, and the way that everything's set up, you got a team. I was like, and to get any compliments from you, really meant a lot to me. And I was kind of bummed when I found out you're moving to Dallas, man, because I was hoping we could hang out. I mean, that's cool that you moved to Dallas and stuff. And by the way, I love the brick background with the Texas flag and the whole setup you've got there with the big Shure SMB and that whole boom arm, just same boom arms on Joe Rogan. It looks great, dude. Looks awesome.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can still hang out, even though because I don't know podcasters, man.
For sure, dude. Look, I'm like right off 35 and south of Dallas. It's really just a short drive, dude. I have an extra bedroom here, even at the loft, dude. So if you want to come up, bring your girlfriend, well, you guys ever want to stay the weekend up here, dude, anytime, my man, I'm all about it. Plus, I'll be coming to Austin, here and there as well. I mean, I still have things down there, I mean, shit, I was in Austin for almost a decade. It really just family, dude. It really just became, like yourself, right? You work from home. I work from home. It really just became, I can be closer to my nephews, dude, who are growing up. I see them twice a year. It's like, killing me, to be honest with you. So that's really all it was.
That makes sense. My sister's got 2 kids. They're in Indiana. They bought a house right across the street from my mom and my stepdad. And I mean, that's been great for them, for everybody. It makes me a little jealous being so far away and seeing all that. But I mean, I'm going to start my family in Texas. I'm not going back to Indiana. I'm a Texan now.
Yeah, there you go. It sort of like brings you in, right? Sucks you in.
Yeah, that Texas pride, man.
Absolutely, that Texas pride, dude. Trust me, I know about it for sure. Well, let's talk a little bit more about your podcast, dude. Real quick, let's talk about like.
Can I vape?
No. Yeah, dude. Are you kidding me? This is we do dude. Real quick. So I just did a podcast with Bob Schneider, like literally right before this. And this is the 3rd time I've interviewed Bob, and dude, every time it's just a shit show in the best way possible. It's just a complete mashup of like a gazillion things that we talk about, and it's all over the place. It always gets super dirty and raunchy, but not like in a weird way. I don't know how to explain. It's just like normal conversation. I love Bob, but it's like, dude, can you vape? Yes. But vaping is the least. Yeah. Hey, we're probably almost there. We're probably like we're probably pretty close to that stage, to be honest with you. What's funny is, I won't say who, but one time I did a podcast where I had these guys come over my house. I was there in Austin, so I had the pat down, and one of the guys in the middle of the podcast got up, went to the bathroom, and I'm pretty sure he did cocaine. Pretty sure he went in my bathroom, did coke, and came back.
That's what cokeheads do, man.
They
disappear for a minute, and then they come back and they're like, just so I was at the things the other day, and then it's like, dude, like, I'm already like jittery and nervous and stuff like that. Like the last thing I want to do on a podcast is do fucking coke.
Totally, dude. I mean, that's just not my thing, to be honest with you. It was like maybe my early 20s. I've probably, fucked with it, but like, yeah, dude, I just thought that was odd. Like, your guest on the podcast, like to roll to the bathroom and do some coke and come back. Like, I never even met you before, right? You're in my house. Like, I don't know. I didn't like it. To be honest with you, I didn't appreciate it.
I don't blame you. I think a lot of people go through a coke phase in their 20s, especially like I've talked about this. I actually had an episode I did on Friends in Austin with a friend. It was within the first 7 episodes. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, let's just do a podcast. Who am I going to interview? My friends. We did an episode on drugs. It was
By the way, that's how all podcasts are. Okay. Nobody knows what they're doing.
So we did a whole episode on drugs, and it was called like drugs, like stories, ups, downs, dangers. And he's a really funny guy and he's a good personality. So we just shared like our best and worst drug moments. I mean, we're both older now, we're maturing, nothing against anyone who does drugs. I still play around with a couple things here and there. I never got anything serious. I never got anything that was like, I never did heroin, like I would, I would try psychedelics. I would try MDMA. I would try, weed's fine, all that. I went through a phase of coke. Here's the thing about coke though. It's just kind of like, the people that I see still doing it, they spend a lot of money on it and it doesn't make them feel good. And it gives you weird hangovers. It's like, you can't productivity. It doesn't do well for productivity or money. It started giving me nasty headaches. When I was like 27, I was buying 16 grams of coke at a time and just dishing it out to my friends. So I was basically doing it for free. So people would come over and just like, boom, there's a pile of coke. Like, let's play Fibbage on Xbox, where it's just like that trivia game. It's just like, it's a trivia game where they ask you a question, then everyone has to make up an answer that sounds good to fill in the blank. And
I've never heard of this.
Sounds
like Balderdash.
Jackbox Party Pack 2 on Xbox or PlayStation, whatever you're on. Sorry, this dog's barking.
Please, I'm sure mine will bark at some point.
It's a fun community game because everyone's in front of the screen, and it's like this huge trivia going on, and you try to make up a lie that sounds like the truth, and if someone picks your lie, then you get points.
That's Balderdash.
Oh, that's Balderdash? That's
Balder. Have you ever heard of that game? Did you ever play that game growing up?
No, never played it.
Okay, that's for the older folks. I think in late 80s, early 90s. Balderdash was a board game. That's what you did. That's exactly it. You made up, and if people chose your made up definition, or it could be like even a time period or a date or an event, or so you just had to make something up completely, and the real one was mixed in. Is that what it was? Is that what that is, basically?
Yeah, and the real one was mixed in. So if you got the real one, you got points. But if someone picked your lie, you got points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I also have a game called Drawful where that'll show something. It'll give you a phrase and you have to draw it. And the drawings are so terrible because everyone fat fingers it on their phone, So it's really comical.
Oh, you do it on your phone?
Yeah, yeah. And then
technology, dude, has changed. I don't really bore. I don't. Is that considered gaming if you're doing that kind of game on a? Is that gaming?
I mean, I don't consider it gaming. I consider it kind of just like playing a board game with your friends, only it's on an Xbox screen. So
yeah. No, I love it. That's how, I just need to get into that. I don't, I'm old school, dude. I still want to whip out an actual board game. Like,
I like that too. I like my girlfriend's group of friends. They like to do that, bust out a board game and play with each other. Board games are great when you're having people over and you're entertaining.
Dude, Monopoly. People need to bring that back. That's like, I love that game so much. It's a fun
Monopoly's also on Xbox. I played Monopoly on Xbox.
Really?
We sit there in front of the screen and trade the controller.
That's gotta be weird. I don't know if I could do a digital version of Monopoly. I need to like the money and the character. Like, I don't know, the hotels.
That's the cool thing about it is it automates all of that. So you're just like, here's my role. Do I want to buy this property?
No,
Do I not want
dude,
to buy this property?
The fun part is maybe your friend is stealing from the bank and you're fucking you're trying to bust his ass the whole game.
That's so true. You're right. I know when I was hanging out with my girlfriend's friends in Denver, they told me a whole story about how one of them was just stealing from the bank the whole time, just shamelessly just stealing from the bank the whole time. Like, you could even see it on camera because someone was videotaping the game, and then it showed like his hand come in and like grab some cash out of the bank. No one noticed.
You kind of have to, dog. It's like, whoa, how did you end up with 500s, bitch? I saw you with 2 just a minute ago. Like, it's like, that's where you catch me. That's why I always stole the 50s, and nobody watching the 50s, dog. And nobody paying attention.
Dude, I've got to stop this dog from chewing this bone outside the store real quick because I can hear it. Is that cool if I just grab this bone real quick?
Yes. I love it. In fact, I think my dog is underneath the table here whining right now. Fuck it, what are you whining about?
All right. Sorry about that. Have you seen my little dog Hula?
I think so, yes.
It was my sister's dog. She gave it to me because they had 2 kids and they didn't want to take. I mean, well, they're good dog owners, but they're like, this is too much. We don't need 2 dogs. So I have that dog now. She was just chewing her bone right outside that barn door thing, and I can just hear it the whole time.
My dog's underneath this table right now. One of them whining right now.
I've seen your dogs on Facebook, and they're cute, man.
They come on the podcast a lot, to be honest with you. They're constantly making an appearance at some point or barking. So no, please, it's all good. No, I love my dog. They're my kid. They're my kids. I don't have actual kids. So,
dude, your setup is so great. It looks so good. I love interior exposed brick places. Always looks great. Did you? Yeah, and I'm assuming you got some foam on the wall in front of you or anything like that.
Barely, dude. I'm looking at a few pieces that I put up like on the wall, really more just decorative, to be honest with you. I had a few foam pieces from the last setup. I actually left that room exactly how it was when I moved out. The next person taking over the house that I moved out of was also a podcaster from New York. So like they just used the room. So I didn't take any of my soundproofing with me. I left it all there. So no, I didn't really put up too much. This mic, dude, is so good, really, if you do it just right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're dynamic mics. I mean, they do their best to filter stuff out. My thing is when guests they'll talk up here and then they'll talk back here, and it's like you can fix that stuff, sure, but it's just there's only so much you can do when someone's moving all over the damn place.
You still have people in person, right? Like you do in person, so we're all Zoom, so that's more.
Yeah,
I just don't worry about that so much, really.
Do you give any recommendations on like, so, I mean, I know podcasting, so it's like, I'm using a decent mic on a computer. I'm trying to talk into the mic. Do people just like, do you tell them like, hey, use your best mic, or do they just like, you just hope that they use something good? They just use their computer audio probably half the time.
I mean, I say that, but maybe the emails that get sent before I see them maybe have some stuff in it. So I say that, like, I don't see anything. I mean, I don't say nothing unless it's bad. Then I'll say something, right? I'll say, hey, can we change this or this? But it has to be bad. If it's fine, just cool, let's go. If you're happy, if you're comfortable and it doesn't sound bad, I'm ready to go. Like, that's what I want. I don't want to make someone do a bunch of stuff and they feel uncomfortable or awkward, or they're balancing something does that make sense? Like,
yeah, it's like putting the pressure on them, because usually people are a little nervous already. So like, you don't want to get too particular about how things are done, because then they start to get in their head and they're like, you know, blah, blah, blah.
I don't care about exactly. If it doesn't look bad or sound bad, I'm fine. It's more them. I've had some people like they'll take 15 minutes to get it right. They want to change this on the camera. Wait a second. They change the audio. And sometimes if they're doing live performances, I will see them do some things, which I get, right? They've got to like.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Because if they want to play a little piece of their song or something like that.
Yeah.
My routine is like, I get them here, you know, we sit down, turn all the cameras on. I have to adjust them every time, because it's not like I have someone in a room that's like using these cameras, and people like to sit in different places. So I got to do the cameras. It's a little awkward, like, you know, going around the room, making sure the cameras look good. Mm-hmm. And then I always tell them, just to make them less nervous, it's like, look, it's not a live podcast. Like, if you need to stop and think about an answer to a question, or maybe you just want to move on to something else, like, that's fine. We'll cut it out. Like, just pretend it, like, you know, well, we're just sitting here talking. This isn't live, you know?
Yeah.
I think that helps.
That helps.
Good. They're like, yeah,
sure.
That sounds good. You know?
Yeah. I say the same thing, pretty much, that this isn't like, if I remember, I'll say it. I guess. But if I see them nervous or something, if, you know, I might bring that up. Yeah. Hey, it's not live, so don't worry about it. That's all I say. It's not live. Don't worry about it. We can cut something out.
Yeah, the guests, they have all the pressure on them. Like, I'm even a little nervous during your podcasts, and I mean, I do podcasts every week, you know, but I'm the host. It's like the pressure. It's like the pressure's on them to, like, you know.
It really is. Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yeah, that's funny. But, you know, do you not get nervous as a host? I still get nervous before every podcast for the most part, to some extent.
Some of them I get more nervous than others, and it really depends. Like, some people, like, I just interviewed a local artist here, Gino the Great, on Instagram. He's got some really cool artwork that was featured in that Netflix show Cheer just by accident. So he painted a mural 7 years ago at a cheerleading gym because he coaches cheer. This is just by sheer accident. And also he's an artist, but at that time, I don't think he was really even selling much art. He was just doing art. And then they shot that Netflix show Cheer, and the main squad, the main cheer gym that they show is his murals there like the whole time. So he's got people calling him from like big companies saying like, can we buy the rights to that mural, that artwork? Can we buy that off you for $15,000? Or he's like, no, I'm not selling the rights to that. No, I'm not selling that to you. He's like, I've got plans for it. Like I'm trying to build up my art. So
I would have sold that shit right away.
I get, but I wouldn't have sold the rights. I would have sold the rights.
The rights.
Yeah. I would have maybe sold the piece individually.
I would have sold the rights for time, 10 years.
Yeah. What do you mean?
5 years. Can't you do that?
Like, yeah, you can have the rights to this for, I mean, I guess it is
for that way you can,
fair price,
negotiate later, right? 5 years, things are going to change. So I'm going to want a different deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would make some money if I could, but that's just me. But I've never had, why I say that? Cause nobody's offered me nothing like that for nothing. So like,
I mean, I think his idea is to make money on it. I think he's just I think he wants to plan it more and think about it more and think about.
He's a real artist.
Yeah.
He's a real art. He cares about the art. I'm not.
Well, he wants to make money on it too, but yeah. But anyway, so
it's his. He's smarter about it, I'm sure.
I brought that up.
What do we know?
Reason I brought that up though is because
yes, that's a good point. We should dive deeper. I mean, I don't want to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
I want you to continue. No, I want you to continue, but I want to come back to that point of knowing when to take that fork in the road, to dig deeper or to keep moving. I think that's a good point. Yeah.
And one thing that I've found that I'm trying to work on with that is when I'm doing that, sometimes I'm not listening as well. So then you kind of lose the opportunity for the question or the segue because you're so focused on trying to figure out what the next thing is, or if this is good, that you're like, I'm now not processing every single word. And so some podcasts, it's like, I even asked the same question twice. It's just because I was so from the outside looking in, it's like, this guy's an idiot. Because they get to sit there and relax and listen and there's no pressure. But when you're in the moment and like, you've only got so many podcasts under your belt, it's like, sometimes that kind of shit happens,
look, it's easy for people to armchair podcast, right? And be like, oh, I would have asked it. I would have said this. I doubt it. Okay. I doubt you would have had the best comeback line or the best show or the best. Why didn't he go further into this? Or, oh, I wish you would have dug deeper, into this moment. And, it's funny, even just talking about that, when we first initially started this podcast, I remember we had someone helping us develop the idea and how we would, and even myself, like how I would interview people and this sort of thing. And, like I was being sort of, oh my God, my dog. Sort of like, did you hear that? He's interested too.
I heard something.
That was him. Like trained or whatever. And that was a lot of the feedback, like listening to the initial episodes, I remember her saying like, I wish you would have dug deeper at this point, or I wish you would have pushed this point further. And I wish you would have. So actually, I remember in the beginning sort of learning what would be good points to push in further and whatnot. Now, of course, I'm still learning. And of course, it's a never, ending road as far as that goes. But you do get better at it. You do get better at conversation and knowing when to push in and push not. Really, it's just natural. Is it natural to push further into this, or is it something that I think people would like to hear, maybe you just know from your audience over time or just yourself. Do you use yourself as a filter? Oh my God, Rocket, what is your problem right now? I'm going to bring him into the conversation.
Do it, man. I love dogs.
So I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with everything you just said. I mean, it's good to hear feedback like that, because oftentimes people do bring up a good point. It's like, oh, I did miss something there. And that's
going to happen, right? We're not perfect.
Absolutely. It's going to trigger something later. I find for me, the episodes that I feel best about when they're over, I just, for whatever reason, had a rapport with that person to where I wasn't even trying that hard to think about this or that. It was just kind of like, we had aligned interests, and for whatever reason, there's people you go out to a bar, some people you talk to them, you like them, you just hit it off. And so those people that come in when you just hit it off like that, it makes for a really natural discussion and things just kind of flow and you don't have to try as hard. And then at the end, you're like, you just know it was good. Like some of them, they're over and you're like, yeah, it wasn't bad. It was decent. But some of them, you just know it was good.
Sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. Rocket, what is your? Do you hear this guy? Here, let me just. Rocket, speaking to the mic. Tell it, what is your problem? ¿Qué te pasa, mi niño?
He's trying to work on his
¿Qué te
podcasting.
pasa? What is going? I really have no idea what he is. He's so strange. Normally, there's something he's concerned about that I don't like. It's probably something far away. For real. It's so he's just so weird.
I'm gonna grab a drink out of my fridge right here. It's just right here.
Yeah, please. Okay, ¿qué te pasa? What's going on, dude?
Grab this
one. Here, I'm gonna put him up, dude.
Hi, you're listening to the Lone Star Plate, and I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. This is the new host of the Lone Star Plate, Justin Talent.
I love it.
I'm just talking to myself. I don't know if you can hear me.
I could, dude. I got the AirPods. I can hear walking around. That is something I even think about. Like, you have the headphones on. Sometimes I don't like wearing those big headphones. Like, it became too much, so I go to these. But sometimes the audio is better in those.
I mean, I'm sure are those the AirPods?
Yeah, they're just regular.
I mean, I've heard the AirPods are really good or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the big bulky headphones. I don't know why. Yeah. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it does create some sort of world, right? Like you're in some sort of other world.
It really does,
right?
Especially when you're on the show and you can hear the guests talking through it. It's like, it sounds like, I don't know, you're listening to a podcast while you're doing the podcast. It puts me in like a mode. You know,
yours, you can hear your voice and the guest, right?
Yeah, anybody that's talking. Yeah, and it's also processing their voice and running the big bottom and oral exciter on it as they speak. So as they're speaking, it's already applying what most people do in post-production. It's applying that in real time. So when I'm listening to it, it sounds like I'm listening to a radio show, which I really like.
Oh wow,
yeah,
dude, that's great.
It's the Rodecaster Pro production console. That's what I'm using. Everything I use is Rode. This isn't a Rode commercial. They don't sponsor me, but
yeah,
your SMBs are great. But Rode makes really good stuff. All my mics, Rodes, and that console that processes it. It's just like the audio in post is usually just like literally I just export it, and sometimes I have to have it doctored if I have a guest that is coming in and out and moving too much. Then I want to level that, you know. But if the guest talks right into the mic the whole time, I don't do anything for post-production. And I should say, I mean, I don't do all the post-production anymore. My friend and coworker and friends in Austin, Zach Smith, he does most of it now, he does a great job.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. So is it basically you and Zach at this point?
Just me and Zach, yes. I had a partner. Awesome. I had a partner previously who we just kind of didn't see eye to eye. I really wanted him for marketing reasons. And I mean, just kind of the things that were discussed and the way that they were played out were two different things. And he was more interested in really just being a personality on the show. And I was, not totally opposed to that because it's like friends in Austin. I was like, is there an opportunity here for this to be more of a, not just about a person like the Joe Rogan Experience, because this is about people in Austin. So maybe we can have multiple hosts, but my vision for what Friends in Austin is and his host style weren't aligned. And he decided to go and do his own podcast, which all the power to him, wishing the best of luck. But I'm glad to be doing, basically just doing the pod on my own. I see myself as a sole host. I don't think I'm going to try that again.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, man. Absolutely. You're going to be finding your way right along this journey. That's all it is. And just sticking to it. Nothing wrong with that. Sticking to what the vision is too. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. So to anybody that's listening to this, Friends in Austin is all about people in Austin, Texas. I focus on entrepreneurs, artists, musicians. It's people, you're probably not going to have heard of most of them. Some of them you may have heard of. But I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship. My background is in software development. I started trying to do entrepreneurship from an early age. Had a lot of things that didn't work out, had some things that worked out okay. Um, Basically, that's what enables me now to do the podcast. I have equity in a company where I built the software for it that is for live streaming livestock auctions across the United States and allowing people to bid online. And I mean, I'm just so thankful for it and so happy that I have, I talked to a financial advisor. He calls it vocational freedom. I have the ability to work on what I want to work on when I want to work on it, which is really, I feel like how you get ahead in the world. I mean, a lot of it's time, man. I mean, it's tough to work a 9 to 5. People talking to people that are in entrepreneurship. I feel like the people that succeed, they go full time on their entrepreneurship thing. And a lot of people do it different ways. Some people save up as much as they possibly can. They calculate a runway. They have an idea. They bust their ass. They minimize their expenses. And then they say, I can go jobless for 2 years or a year. And hopefully I can get this company off the ground in that amount of time. If I can't, well, I just lost all that money. But it's so important to me that I'm willing to make that sacrifice. And if you're a person that has a skill set that, you know, you can earn a high dollar salary, like you can always go back to that. So I'm no entrepreneurship expert, so I'm not a guru. I'm not in any position to be giving really anyone an advice, but the patterns that I'm seeing are, you know, people that have a skill that is valuable, that's, you know, the education, invest in yourself. Like you can always go back to that. You know that you can earn X amount of money, and that allows you to be, you know, have more freedom in what you pursue, because the risk is less. People look at it as a lot of risk. It's like, oh, you're going to lose $100,000 if this company doesn't get off the ground. But it's like, the reason you had that money is because you invested in yourself. You built a skill. You know that you can get paid. And, you know, yeah, your retirement will be a little less, sure. But at the end of the day, you know, as long as you aren't overly needy in the things that you want to own, like, you know, minus $100,000 at 65 or whatever that would have compounded to isn't going to equate to much. Especially when you know that to me, it'd be worse to end up in retirement and be like, I didn't try. I was too scared. I never took any shot.
That's the bigger point that, you know, on your debt, right? Your last moments, that's really what you think about, is what you didn't do.
Exactly.
Not what you did and regret.
Exactly. It's like, it's the old saying. It's like, you know, the shots that you didn't take are the ones that hurt the most or whatever. Like, you know, and I saw myself, I'm 32 now. And like I said, I did some things in my 20s, but actually I did a lot of partying and hanging out in my 20s, which I don't necessarily regret. As I said, there was a time where I was buying 16 grams of Coke at the same time, but I was like, man, I'm a big dreamer. I sit around and think about things all day. And it's like, you're just thinking about them. That's all you're doing. You're just visualizing things, and you're not, you know, you're not really doing them. So it's like, you're 32 now. I want to have kids. I want to have a family. I don't want to take the big risks when I've already got kids. So now that's why I started the podcast. You know, one of my weaknesses was networking with people and meeting new people. And because I see a lot of successful people, and the reason they got there is because not only are they hard workers, but they know a lot of people. They have connections. You need other people that are where you want to be to be able to give you advice, and also maybe give you an investment if you can build that faith and show them that you're a hard worker. So for me, I'm getting to talk to all kinds of people in Austin. I'm getting to have people come over to my house sometimes that are multi-millionaires. And it's like, this guy would never come to my house if I wasn't doing a podcast. You know, there's no reason to, but instead this guy's coming over to my house. He's taking the time out of his day, this guy or gal, whoever it is, and they're sitting down and having an hour-long conversation with me. And they don't know me. They're, you know, they just seen what I think they respect the professionalism of the podcast. And that's why I don't really talk about drugs or too much of that stuff on the podcast. Not that, you know, that's a big part of my life anymore, but I keep the podcast pretty professional, and I want to make people look good. But
yeah, absolutely.
Opening up opportunities, stuff like that.
No, that's awesome, man. No, I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about this livestock thing, because that is interesting. So I'm trying to understand what that means. So people can buy cows and steer and whatever online. They bid for them. Goats, like horses, webcam. Do they see them like through webcams, or?
Yeah. See them through webcams. So
that's interesting. So
the cattle industry in the United States is a very large industry. Obviously, the beef industry, not only the beef industry, but sheep, goat, whatever. Yeah, it's something odd. I wouldn't have ever got involved in it. Didn't know much about it myself. I was teaching at a code school here in Austin. When I was in my early 20s, I started teaching myself to program at home because I thought it was fascinating. I didn't really understand at that time how big it was going to be and how many jobs there was going to be. So I feel lucky that I caught interest in it, and I just taught myself. I didn't go to school for it. I was a college dropout, never could do the school thing. I really hated it. I thought it was so expensive and just such a slow, boring waste of time. So I'm living at home. I had dropped out of school. I started just looking at programming, taking programming like $20 a month on lynda.com, which is now LinkedIn Learning. They got bought. For $20 a month, I was able to get a pretty damn good programming education from experts around the world. And a lot of it is just putting the time in and being passionate about it. And like, I was always building projects. I was writing. I had a lot of ideas. And the best thing to do is while you're learning to code is have an idea that you're implementing as you're learning, and then you're trying to get things to work. You're not it's not all theoretical. It's not all just, learning the rules. It's applying the rules as you learn them. Then I got a job online by, I was tweeting about programming and running, and some guy out of California that loves running and had his own company. This is in the earlier days of Twitter when, I don't know, I feel like people interacted a little more and it was less about politics and news. Yeah. We got to talking. He's like, hey, well, I'm hiring. You want to come work for us? We'll give you an interview. Gave me an interview, got the job. It's a $30,000 a year job, which honestly, I was super stoked about. I know people, when they hear, they probably thought it was a lot more because coding salaries are a lot higher now. But
yeah, totally.
I was a beginner. I had no schooling, so they're taking a risk on me. I was stoked to make $30,000 a year. I was living at home. I was saving,
and it's what you want to do.
Yeah. So I saved up a bunch of money just because I didn't have any expenses. I was living at my mom's house, So then I went to a code school in Chicago, moved to a big city. I'm from a town of 4,000 people, so it was a huge change for me living in Chicago. In that code school, it's called Code Academy. It eventually became Starter League. It got bought by Basecamp, which used to be called 37 Signals, but Basecamp is a big software company. They're one of the most respected software companies in the world, and they write books about working from home, like called Remote. Getting Real is a book about practical business practices and less meetings, less BS. I really respected them, and the guy that owns that company, or started Ruby on Rails at least, was David Heinemeier Hansen, DHH. He's huge in the coding world. Anyone that's in the coding world would know who DHH is. Anyway, they ended up buying that company, that code school that I went to. But I know that was a tangent aside, but I went to this code school. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs there, really inspiring. Everyone that was there was like me. They wanted to they had a lot of gumption. They had a lot of passion. They had all kinds of ideas they wanted to work on. I lived in a house full of other coders. Well, we ended up calling it Code House. It was a 3-story house, just full of programmers trying to get better at programming and get a job. Or some of them aren't like myself. I was already working full time while I did it. Actually, one guy that lived in the house with me, Josh Fabian, he just got a $2 million investment for his company Matify, which is coaching people on video games. So he's trying to monetize, like finding you a coach and then the coach making money off that, because video games, it's a huge space. I mean, it's blowing up. Wow. And the first thing that he asked me about was to debug some porn site code that he was working on. It was in PHP. So he pulled up the shittiest PHP code I've ever seen in my life. Like half the code was missing. I'm like, there's no way this runs, period. Like I can't even debug this, but it was for a porn site. Here he is, like 10 years later with a $2 million investment. And I think that company he's got is a good idea. But these are the kinds of people that, it's like everyone, they're hustlers, and it was inspiring. Yeah. So I taught at that code school. And then I wanted to move to San Francisco because that's like every programmer's dream. It's like, oh, you want to start a company? Well, you got to go to Silicon Valley, right? But as I looked into Silicon Valley, I was like, holy shit, this place sucks. and it's funny because you're seeing, this was like 10 years ago. I mean, it sucked then, like the homelessness, the crime, the break-ins, the overpopulation, the rent prices, the taxes. I mean, I was like, God, I mean, I want to make it as an entrepreneur and a programmer, but I am not fucking moving to Silicon Valley. Hell no. So then one of my coworkers is like, well, I live in Austin, man. Austin's pretty cool. Have you looked into it? And I was like, I haven't heard shit about Austin. No one's talking about Austin. in these days. And I flew out to visit him. I remember driving down South Congress. The sun was coming down. The Capitol was completely orange. One of these huge Texas sunsets. They don't have sunsets like this in Indiana. I never seen sunsets like this. Texas is amazing golden sunsets, and the Capitol building is already orange. The way everything was lit up. I was seeing all the people at the restaurant sitting down, just driving down South Congress. I was like, fuck this. I'm moving to Austin. It's over. I'm sold.
Wow.
Got an apartment at a decent price, $1,200 a month. In my opinion, it's expensive for me, but it was basically downtown. It was on South Congress and Riverside, well located.
Oh yeah.
The nature, the trail, you can run around. There's outdoors here. I didn't feel like I was going to get stepped on like I did in Chicago. Just everywhere you go, am I going to get hit by a bus, or is somebody just going to come up and panhandle into me every time I go somewhere? That was Chicago. It was so loud, you can't even think. Austin's got nature. It's a nice place. So I came here, continued coding, got different jobs with different companies here. I ended up teaching at a code school that was over at Strayer University, for things to come full circle, kind of. Then I met a woman that was coming to that school, and she was trying to learn to program because she had paid a good chunk of change to some programmers that were trying to make a product for her in this cattle industry, and it turned out to be a very poor product. She at the end decided programming was not for her, but I had helped her with a few things, kind of with her code. And she was like, hey, I'd like to form a partnership with you. If you would be willing to build this app for me, we can do an equity thing. You can be the tech person. I'll run the business. And I was a little at first, it's like, cattle, is this idea have any merit? I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, and people as a programmer, people ask you all the time, hey, you want to build this, you want to do that for equity. And it's like, no, man, can you pay me? Because everybody's got an idea. I've got 20 of my own, but there was something about her, and I felt like she was legit when she got talking to me, and she's like, this could be a big thing. And, there's other people doing this. I'm not the only person doing this, but I think that we can do it better because this industry is way behind. So I kind of agreed to it, and she even paid me to do it too. That's part of the thing too. She wasn't just saying like, hey, here's some equity in a company that may have no value ever. Can you spend 3 months building this and then maybe get nothing? She was like, no, I'll pay you your salary and I'll give you equity. And then things will go from there. But the concept behind it is these cattle auctions that are happening all across the United States, there's tons of them. And I'm sure people in Texas, Oklahoma, some of these people listen to the podcast, the Lone Star Plate, may know about these. It's a big culture. It's a big industry. People come sit down, sometimes hundreds of people. There's an auctioneer. They put the cows in the ring. They show them. People are bidding in person. But what we're doing is we're streaming that auction to online bidders. So you can be in Nebraska and you can bid on a cow that's in Texas. Some of these cows go for $100,000. I mean, it's unbelievable. Wow. The horses go for even more, but we don't make money like that. We make money by setting up the service for the people running the auction. So if a cow sells for $100,000, it doesn't make me any richer, but I just think it's interesting.
For sure. That is interesting. That's
how much these cows go for, man.
Yeah. They're worth a lot. I mean, they're worth a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and some people aren't fans of the beef industry, whatever. Nothing against those people, but and maybe lab grown meat one day. I think lab grown meat one day will be the thing. I don't know how long it will take for that to happen, but I think that also there will always be a market for like somebody's going to want, this is real cow meat.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure. It is sustainable. I mean, we've done podcast episode with farmers and ranchers and regenerative agriculture. I mean, we could do a whole bit about it, Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a whole nother, I don't even want to open that can of worms, to be honest with you. No, that's very interesting. I mean, that totally makes sense. Bringing technology into these things, it does open the market more, and maybe, I'm sure there's probably some issue with some locals not liking that to some extent. I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, feedback on that.
No, I think the people, they like the ability, these people that are ranchers and stuff like that. I mean, it just gives them flexibility, and one, they can sell their product to more people. I don't know if they like the term product when it comes to their inventory, their livestock, but no, I think it helps these ranchers out. It helps them sell more. It helps other ranchers have more options when they're going to buy.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey, and then it was growing decently. It was not blowing up, but it was I would consider, like, if you looked at it on paper, it's like, this is a healthy business, it's growing. And then COVID hit, and more people saw the advantages and the importance of the flexibility of being able to purchase something online, even a cow, you know. And it really took off from there. And that's when I was working at an energy company here, writing software in Austin, and I quit. And that's why the power went out, because I quit.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
kidding.
funny.
I'm
That's
kidding. No,
funny.
that's
Yeah.
not why the power went out. But don't blame
Yeah.
me for any of the energy stuff. I was writing code for energy before that, but I was writing code for an energy retailer anyway. So it was a little different than you know, the whole energy infrastructure. But yeah, I was like, you know what, this is doing well. I'm certainly not, as my friend Kevin Newsom would say, high-fiving to the bank, but it was like, you know, I can't afford to quit my job. This is a little scary, a little risky, but I'm going to go full-time podcasting, doing something I've never done before, something that's totally different than writing code every day. That's my job was typing on a computer, and it gets very isolated. It's fun, it's creative, but like podcasting is a breath of fresh air, honestly, because I get to sit down and have a conversation with a real human being and learn something about their life and make a connection with them. So it's a really fantastic experience, and a huge contrast to, you know, what I would consider myself primarily as a, you know, a programmer.
Sure. No, that's awesome, man. Where tell people how they can, you know, connect with your podcast and all those sort of details.
FriendsinAustin.com. I built the website. It's super basic, but it's clean. It looks good. We're on Instagram at Friends in Austin. Those are really the main two places. Check us out on the website. Check us out on Instagram. Of course, we're on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. As you know, I do every episode in studio, 4K. I really enjoyed, you know, just kind of sitting down in front of people, and yeah, I like to think the production's good. Check out Patrick's episode. He was a great guest. People still reference it. Everyone loves your episode, Patrick. And again, your episode inspired me, because I was early. That was my early on in the podcast days. I've been doing this for almost a year now, but you got with this early, and I was really inspired by your episode, and to sit down with another full-time podcaster, because there's not that many of them out there.
That's right. Not at our level, that's for sure. That's true. I mean, it's just true. No, that's awesome, sure, man. Well, look, man, you know, this has been awesome, dude. I really appreciate, you know, you taking the time. We need to just chat more either way, you know.
For sure, dude. I want to come out there and visit you, and you're always welcome to come here too.
100%. Like I said, mi casa su casa. That's how I am. I'm right downtown, so no problem at all, man.
Well, I hope this was a good, entertaining episode for you. I know I rambled for a long time. I guess I had more to say than I thought I would.
This is no problem, dude. This is what we're gonna. No problem. This is what podcasting is. Yeah, there's no rules. No rules. No, I loved it. This was awesome, man. I appreciate it. I do. So please, yeah, people are gonna check out your podcast. You told them where to go. Right, we covered all that. Okay, yeah, your Instagram, website. Okay, boom. Okay,
yeah, cool. Check out Patrick's episode on Friends in Austin. Yeah.
Boom. Yeah, definitely. That's the best one.